But on top of that, there's this, are you really who you say you are issue. Now, I think in order to make that right, what I started thinking about is you can't just have another siloed product out there. You can't just, okay, now go get your I-9s done, right? And by the way, you need to do this in the UK now, in Australia, and just about everywhere. But you can't just force people to go do something that should take 5 minutes and go pop over here and go do that. But it goes back to that integration theme, right? We need to meet people where they're at in the onboarding process, whether that's when they're first starting to interview and are you really who you say you are, or when you're starting the onboarding process and the like. So that all started to come together. And that's where WorkRight was kind of really born, is how do we help companies identify the fact of who they're hiring and are they doing all the right things, right? So do you have answers to these questions? These questions became particularly more important to companies as the lack of authenticity became easier. Do you really know who you're talking to when you're interviewing them, right? Are you who you say you are? Have you done those things? Because it's easy to kind of fake. Where are you getting that source of truth? Will you be able to do the things I'm hiring you for? Again, you know, you've got a picture of yourself rowing and you're getting into school as a rower just because you were able to fake that out? That's a USC negative. Can you work for us? That's the traditional I-9 right to work things around the world. So we built it all around that. But these other questions, are those documents valid? There are ways now for us to check those documents and authenticate them, right? So shouldn't that be built into the process? Can you work on this contract? More and more companies are not allowed to have certain people working on certain contracts, and that's being enforced. Are you keeping track of that? If the government showed up tomorrow, could you tell them that you've got that well handled? Can they work on this technology? There are lots of, you know, you've read in the papers that there's a lot of restrictions on who can work on AI technology and who can't. Are you keeping track of that? So in our ecosystem, we're trying to answer all these questions in an integrated form